All right, good morning, personal finance students. It is Tuesday, April 14th, and this is your e-learning lesson for today. First and foremost, hope everybody had as wonderful of Easter as you possibly could have had, given all the circumstances that we're dealt with right now. And before we begin today's lesson, I do want to stress once again, there have been some of you that have not been doing anything for e-learning, and I hope you're watching this video and I hope you're reading your emails. This is the only class at Lincoln Way where the grades are still legit graded, where they hurt your grade. So if you don't do anything in another class, they have to give you an incomplete and it doesn't affect your grade. If you don't do anything in personal finance, since this is still a college credit class and it's run through JJC in the state of Illinois, your grades still matter. My assignments that I've been giving are graded, not like a little, oh, you did it, they're graded, okay? Or you didn't do it, you're excused. No, they matter. So get the word out to there's still some people that I don't think have checked Skyward in 3 weeks. Because they've decided to call it a year. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Your grade is going down, down, down. That being said, if you missed any of my assignments over the last couple weeks, I will take them via email for late points. Please send them to me. And those of you guys that have sent me stuff over the last 3-4 days, over the weekend and stuff like that, I believe we have a teacher planning grading day this coming Friday. If not, it's next Monday. I will then take that day to put those grades in. So those things you're sending me via email, some of you people that are turning some things in late, I will get those things in over the course of the next teacher planning day. It's either this Friday or next Monday. Stay tuned on that. In addition, I've got some awesome, exciting news. A lot of you guys saw my email. This guy right here will be a guest on the Dave Ramsey Show. 14 million listeners a day. I'm scared. 14 million listeners a day. And so it'll be next Monday. I'll be a guest on the Dave Ramsey Show around 3:15. And I would love if you guys would listen in. I'm going to try to mention some of your names if I can. You can listen in on the iHeartRadio app. Pandora, he's got his own Pandora station. If you have Sirius XM satellite radio, channel 110. If you're listening to old school radio, Spotify, it's on Spotify. Say, play Dave Ramsey. If you're listening to old school radio, WJOL 1340. If you go on to YouTube, Dave Ramsey's got his own YouTube channel. The video is live. You can watch Dave doing the radio show live on YouTube. You go to DaveRamsey.com. You can click on the link for his show, and you can also watch it live off of his website, and you can now actually see him interview me live on video. So I would love if you guys could jump in and check that out. Once again, that's next Monday, April 20th, around 3:15. I should be on. Also, that being said, they've asked me to ask you guys some questions that you would like Dave to answer on air. So I sent this out in your email yesterday, but if you haven't seen it yet, if you guys have any questions in regards to budgeting, saving, investing, college funding, Roth IRAs, mutual funds, whatever, any of the things that we've talked about, credit cards, car payments, credit scores, anything like that, email me in the next 24 hours or so. And I have to get those questions lined up for Dave. I will say your name on the air in front of, if I pick a couple of your questions, if it's you, I will say your name. Hey, this question comes from, Peyton North. And Peyton North asks, and I'll say your name on the air in front of 14 million Americans that are listening. So send me those questions if you have them. If not, I would love if you could tune in and listen. It's a pretty cool, amazing opportunity. I'll do my best to say some of your names and talk about all the amazing things that we've done in class and that we are continuing to do. Because I said, this does not stop regardless of the situation, where I'm still teaching. There's no little BS assignments or anything like that. We're still doing what we do. And so I would love if you guys, could listen, because I'm going to talk about, not me, I'm talking about you guys and some of the amazing things that you guys are doing, because that's what this is about. So that being said, let's transition into today's lesson. So Thursday, the last day we met, we introduced you to mutual funds. Now, mutual funds are the investment type. Now, we're not done learning about investments. We still got a bunch of different investments to learn about, but we're going to take a couple days and focus on mutual funds. Mutual funds are the investment that we strongly, strongly, strongly recommend that you invest your money in. Okay, want to do rich people stuff? This is what the rich people do. This is what the Bill Gates, the Warren Buffetts, what the ultra rich people tell us. Hey, common American, here's what you need to put your money in. I know a lot about this. And Warren Buffett says, Americans, buy mutual funds, invest in mutual funds. They are great, amazing long-term investments, okay? The way that they are built, the way they are managed, the way they are constructed, they are set up for investing for long-term, which is what you're going to be doing, okay? We're talking about, if I invest, $100 a month from age 18, age 20, age 25 to age 65, I'll have 2.7 million. That's what we're doing, long-term investing. They are not good for quick investing and quick returns, okay? You don't buy a mutual fund and sell it a month later, okay? You're not going to make any money because they're not built that way to do that. Those are like things like stocks, and stocks are very, very, very risky. So we've kind of talked about those things, and we'll bring everything full circle with stocks versus mutual funds once we have a grasp on what mutual funds are. So let's do a quick recap, okay? So mutual funds work like this. Investors pool their money together. There's a portfolio manager that manages the pool of money, and your investment dollars grow and your return comes as the value of the investment goes up. So here we go. This is the pool. And so people are going to put some money in. All right. So Chloe Gunkel, what up, CG? Chloe Gunkel is going to put some money in. AJ Grasso, what up, AJ? AJ is going to put some money in. Kyle Quinn, what's up, KQ? Kyle Quinn is going to put some money in. Juliana Wilson, what's up, Juliana? Juliana's going to put some money in. Ryan Bellinger, what's up, Ryan Bellinger? Ryan Bellinger is going to put some money in. Chris Leonopoulos, DJ Chris, what up, man? DJ Chris, going to put some money in. Mason Pierre-Antoine, what's up, Mason? Mason's going to throw some money in. McGuire Palisard, what's up, McGuire? McGuire's going to throw some money in. Adrian Wilson, what's up, Adrian? Adrian Wilson's going to put some money in. And Mr. Pearson is going to throw some money into the pool, okay? Now, all these different investors, now there's like 10 of us. It's more like 10,000 or 20,000 or more. A bunch of investors pool their money together, okay? All the money goes in the pool. There's a portfolio manager. Let's just say it's me. And the portfolio manager's job is to take all this money and invest it, okay? And the portfolio manager decides what to invest in. And he's going to take all of our money, and he's going to maybe, sorry for the god-awful pie chart once again, he's going to decide what investments to buy. And there might be 90, there might be 100, there might be 200, there might be 500, there might be 800, there might be 1,000, there might be more. And he will decide if this is a, let's say if this is a stock mutual fund, a growth stock mutual fund that all it does is buy stocks and companies that are growing. He might take, there might be $1 billion in here, $5 billion in here. He might take that, and he might take, I don't know, $50 million and buy stock in Amazon, okay? And he might take like, you know, 3/4 of 1%, 0.75% of all the money that's in here. It's a little tiny bit, and buy one little tiny bit of 5 billion is quite a bit. And he might buy Amazon stock. And then he might take a little bit more of something else. And he might go, oh, let's go Alphabet. And I'm going to take, you know, $10 million. I'm going to buy $10 million worth of Alphabet company. That's Google. And maybe that's like 0.5% of all the money in here. And he's going to do that 100, 500, 800 times. And when he decides what the portfolio is made up with, the mutual fund, you have got an ultra diversified investment. You're not investing in one stock or 5 stocks or 10 stocks. You're investing in 500 different stocks, okay? You've got ultra diversification. You've lowered your risk. And you can buy into some cool companies that you might not have been able to buy into by yourself. But we together have mutually funded this investment, okay? And that's how a mutual fund works. And what is in the mutual fund tells you what type of mutual fund is. If this is stocks of companies that are growing, this would be called a growth stock mutual fund. And there might be, I don't know, 3,000 different growth stock mutual funds. If this was, you know, 500 different bonds, this would be called a bond mutual fund or a bond fund. And there might be 2,000 bond funds that you can pick from. So what makes up the fund kind of tells you what category that it falls into, okay? So that was a quick recap from what we talked about, what we learned on Thursday or Friday. Next is I've attached a worksheet that I want to go through with you guys today. So please download it right now. If you've not downloaded it, it's called Reading a Prospectus. Now, a prospectus, if you think about this, if this is a mutual fund and this is 500 different companies that make up the Pearson Mutual Fund, okay? How do you know what's going on in here? How do you know if this is a good mutual fund? How do you know if it's an average mutual fund? How do you know if it's a below average mutual fund? One of the things you do is these companies that run mutual funds and make mutual funds, they have to by law provide a report, a detailed report on each mutual fund that they put out there for investors. That report is called a prospectus. And a prospectus is a detailed report on everything that's going on in this mutual fund. Now, let me share my screen with you guys. And let's go to this one, I believe. Okay, now you guys can kind of see my screen. Now, this is a prospectus. And this is a prospectus for, I mean, there's more than 10,000 mutual funds out there. Okay, so there's a lot of them to look through. And this is just one mutual fund prospectus. Now I'm just gonna go through really quick, and I just want you to just glance. We're not reading anything, just get visuals on everything. Charts, got some bar charts, we got lots of words. This is a report, a lot of reading. We're reading, we're reading, we're reading, we're reading, we're not reading. You're reading, you're reading. Dividends, we'll talk about those. We're reading, okay. By now, oh, look at all those tables and numbers. Ah, brain is fried. My brain's fried already. Look at that. Okay, more words. Falling asleep. Okay, do you guys get it? I don't know if you can see it at the top. There's 49 pages to this prospectus, okay? Think about it. If there's 500, 800, stocks we invest in this mutual fund, this isn't a little 1-2 dinky page report. I mean, there's a lot of information that's going to be contained in this report. Now, truth be told, I have never fully read a prospectus for any of the mutual funds that I invest in. I don't have the time to read 49 pages. I mean, there's 10,000 mutual funds out there. I don't have time to read 49, 50, 100 pages and then go, oh, light bulb went off. I've read all 50 pages and this is a good mutual fund. Or you know what would suck? You read all 49 pages and you're like, yeah, I don't like this mutual fund. And you spent 3 hours reading 49 boring pages of charts, tables, graphs, and size 6-point fonts. Okay, that would suck. I've never read a full prospectus of a mutual fund. However, for those that don't have a godly amounts of time or patience or energy, they have a summary. Think of a Cliff's Notes. If you've ever used the Cliff's Notes version, you haven't read the book in English, but you read the Cliff's Notes version. They have a Cliff's Notes version of a mutual fund prospectus called a summary prospectus. And I do study the summary prospectus. I don't read this whole thing I'm showing you, but I can look at a couple pages. Now, what I'm going to pull up on my screen right now is, let me scroll down a little bit. This is kind of the gist of, this is what you've downloaded for me. This is more a snapshot of what those 4950 pages contain, all in a page or two. This is called the summary prospectus. Now I could do this. I might not read 49 pages, but I can read some charts, and I can read a little paragraph here or a couple words there, or there's a nice beautiful pie chart. I like pie charts. Those are quick and easy to understand. Here's a nice line graph right there. I can do that. Here's a couple tables where it might be a little confusing, but we're going to go over them. But I can do this. I can take a look at this and go, all right, give me 5 minutes and I'll know if this is good, bad, or below average or whatever. I can do this. And over the next 10, 15 minutes, you're gonna be able to do this too, hopefully. I'm gonna show you the maybe 6, 7, 8 things that you need to look for when looking at mutual funds to know if it is something that you might wanna put your money into, okay? By the end of this week, most of you guys are gonna know more about investing than your parents. And your parents might have been investing for 15, 20, 30 years. I don't know, who knows, okay? But they might not know how to read a prospectus. This is good stuff, okay? So those of you guys that are starting to get the itch with investing, this is where we want to wake up, lock in. I'm gonna teach you guys how to look for mutual funds. So let's start here with the prospectus, all right? What I want you guys to do is I want you to follow along with me, and I want you to do the worksheet step by step with me. All right, so let's go to the page that looks like this. All right, and right here at the top where it says name of fund. Now there's 10,000 mutual funds out there that you can pick from. Okay, so they all have names. So let's go to the second page, and the name of the fund is going to be right here. This whole big blah boring thing. So name of fund, this mutual fund is called Mutual Financial Services Fund Class C. Go ahead and write that next to name of fund. Mutual fund, I'll do it in my announcing voice. Mutual Financial Services Fund Class C. I'm bored, okay? Write it. Maybe I got a laugh out of some of you guys. Okay, now, the name of it can be kind of blah, long, obnoxious. And so every stock, every mutual fund has what's known as a ticker symbol. A ticker symbol is the shorthand nickname abbreviation of the mutual fund. So that if you're looking up a quote to see how much it is to invest in this, you don't have to like Google Mutual Financial Services Fund Class C quote. You could just type in the ticker symbol. So the next thing it's going to ask you right here is what is the ticker symbol? Now this is a little difficult to read, so I'll zoom in for you. Sorry, it's a little difficult to read. And you're going to write in all capital letters, capital T, capital M, capital F, capital S, capital X. TMFSX. By the way, I don't think this is a real mutual fund. This is a fake mutual fund, I believe. TMFSX. Okay. That's the ticker symbol. That's a shorthand abbreviation. If you were going to look up McDonald's stock, you would just type in on Google MCD. That's the ticker symbol for McDonald's, if you know it. Okay. If you're going to type in Disney stock, you type in DIS instead of typing Disney stock in. That'll give you the ability to. Let me try it real quick. I'll show it to you guys. Let's do MCD. I'll just type in MCD on Google. Bam. Okay. You guys can see right there. There's McDonald's stock. If you know the ticker symbol, just type it in on Google. There's the quote. Okay. If you know the mutual fund, You just type in the ticker symbol of the mutual fund. There's the quote. You can get all the information on Google. Okay, so that is the name and the ticker symbol. The next thing it asks, I'm going to have you skip actually website found, website used. Don't worry about that. We'll leave that one blank. Okay, let's go to number one. Number one says fund objective. Fund objective. Now, fund objective is kind of like, it could be what type of mutual fund is this? Large cap, mid cap, small cap, international, bond fund, something like that. It can tell you that, or it can be a detailed description. On this prospectus that I provided, they've given like a paragraph description. I'll scroll down and just follow me. I'm going to read it to you. Now, this is going to be like in one ear, out the other. I get it. I'll break it down for you. So the fund objective is listed right here next to number one. It says investment objective. The investment seeks capital appreciation, which may occasionally be short-term. Income is a secondary consideration. The fund invests at least 80% of its net assets in the securities of financial services companies that the investment manager believes are available at market price less than their value based on certain recognized or objective criteria, intrinsic value. It also invests in merger arbitrage securities and the debt and equity of distressed companies. The fund may invest in foreign securities without limits. What? Okay. So sometimes some different websites will just say, hey, dude, it's a large cap mutual fund. It's a mid cap mutual fund. It's a small cap mutual fund. Or you might get some garbage like this. Let me tell you the important things to pull out of here, and I'll tell you the stuff to write down for number one. Probably the most important thing is, what is this fund invested in? I would write down next to number one, this right here. The fund invests at least 80% of its net assets in the securities of financial service companies. So take a minute, go to number one, and write, the mutual fund invests at least 80% of 80% of its securities. Securities is a fancy word for investments. It's money. Investments, securities of financial companies. Okay, what does that mean? That means if there's $1 billion in this mutual fund, the portfolio manager is going to take 800 million at least, and it's going to buy stock in banks and investment companies and financial institutions. Okay, now how would I use this information? If I'm not a believer in the finance industry, the investment industry, the banking industry, and I don't want to give them my money, maybe it's a personal thing, or maybe I just don't believe they're going to do well over the next 5-10 years for whatever homework you found and did, and go, yeah, don't put money in banks. Don't put money in the banks. I don't like that. Then maybe I don't invest in this mutual fund. If so much money is invested in financial institutions, that's how I would use this information. If it said, tech companies, 80% of the money that we put in here is going to go into tech companies, and you did not believe in the technology industry, then this is not the mutual fund for you. That's how I would use this information, just kind of get a glance at what's going on in that. The other thing is, it looks to buy companies, they said, that are below market value, what they believe to be below market value. So companies that are down on their luck, but they think, this portfolio manager thinks they're going to go up. Okay, that's kind of what all number one breaks down to. Okay, number two asks fund investment. What is this fund invested in? Now, this is pretty important. Okay, oh, I'm sorry, I skipped my bad. Number two says fund manager experience. Remember we mentioned there's a portfolio manager that manages the fund and everything like that. That's important to know who the dude is. Okay, so I'm going to go down here and find number two, and you look for who the portfolio manager is. This dude's name is Andrew Sleeman, and it says 4 years. Now, I don't know who Andrew Sleeman is. You don't know who Andrew Sleeman is. And I don't know what 4 years means. Does it mean the dude has been in the investment industry for 4 years? If that what the 4 means, I'm a little worried. That means the dude's a rookie. Okay, I don't want a rookie managing my money. I want a veteran managing my money. Now, if I look a little bit deeper, because this doesn't tell it all, I might have to look at the actual prospectus. and I find out that Andrew Sleeman's been in the investment game for 30 years, and the 4 means he's been working this mutual fund the last 4 years, then I want to check out how this mutual fund has performed the last 4 years. And then I want to see what other funds, the other 26 years Sleeman's been in the game, I want to see how Sleeman's been doing for his previous 26 years on his investment strategies and mutual funds. Okay, so just looking at the name and that, they don't give you a whole lot of information. I would dig deeper if I was actually looking to invest in this, and I want to know who Andrew Sleeman is, and I want to know what 4 stands for, and I want to know more about Andrew Sleeman. Because if this dude's managing my money and your money, I don't want a rookie. I want a vet, and you want a vet too, somebody that's been in the game for a long time. So look at the portfolio manager of each mutual fund, check out their stats, okay? See if they know what the heck they're doing, because this is your money you're trusting them with. So next, number 2, I would write Andrew Sleeman, 4 years. And like I said, that 4 years, I'd have to dig deeper, and you should dig deeper too if this was an actual investment you're looking at, to figure out who Andrew Sleeman is and what does that 4 mean, okay? Number 3, what is the fund invested in? It's called the fund investment. So let's check out number 3. Flip to this part right here, and number 3 says the top 10 holdings, okay? Now, this means the top 10 companies that our money gets put into. And here's how I'd read this. The most money from this mutual fund, Andrew Sleeman invests in some company called ACE Limited. It's some financial company. I've never really heard of it, truth be told. ACE Limited, and 3.28% of all the money in the pool buys stock in this investment company called ACE. The second most company we invest our money in, 3.22% of all the money in the pool, they buy stock from some company called Protector Forsikring ASA. Never heard of them. Then you go down, Partner Limited, 2.69% of all the money in here buys stock in this investment company called Partner Re Limited, and so on and so forth down the line. Now, I don't think you have to write down all 10, but why don't you take a minute and write down the top 3 companies I just addressed, ACE, Protector Forsikring, and and write the percentages of all the money in the pool that we're investing in those companies. Take a minute and do that. Might want to pause me for that. Go ahead and do that. Okay. Next thing, I'm going to pretend you paused, write those 3 things down in the percentages. Now, the next thing is the most important thing. This is why we're investing. Historical performance, rate of return. Okay. This is why we are investing. This is what we look at first. This is the first thing I look at when I'm looking at a mutual fund. How has this thing performed in the past? What is the rate of return? How much interest has this thing made for its investors? That's why we're investing, to make money. Okay, it's our primary concern, is to make money. The only way we can look at how much money we think it's going to make, the only possible thing we can really go off of is past performance indicates future performance. Okay, if the thing has performed well in the past, that's usually a great, strong sign that it's done well, which is why Dave on Thursday stressed 2 times, and I'm going to tell you again, which is why you don't buy a mutual fund that has not had a track record of at least 5 years. At least. There's mutual funds that pop up every day, okay? If the thing says it's a mutual fund that became a mutual fund in the year 2019, I'm out. I'm not putting my money in a baby mutual fund. Why? I don't know too much about it. There's only 12 months of data on how this thing is done. And if it's done amazing over 12 months, I still would not put my money in it. Now, if this mutual fund we're looking at says, hey, it's been a mutual fund since 1972, and it's got a 50-year track record of double-digit rate of returns, dude, I like it. This thing has gave double-digit rate of returns over 50 years. Those are stats that I'm comfortable putting my money in, okay? So we're looking for mutual funds. Remember this, write it in your book, write it in your notes, that have a 5-year track record or more The more data I can get my hands on of good returns. So if there's a 10-year rate of return number, I want it. If there's a 15-year rate of return number, I want to see it. If there's a 20, 30, 50-year rate, I want. The more data I can get, the better. If this mutual fund we're looking at says, hey, we were established in the year 2016, probably not putting my money in it. There's only 3-4 years worth of data that I can see how it's done. I want 5, 10, 15, 50 years of data. I want mutual funds out there that have killed it for decades. So that's what we're looking at. So here's what we're going to look at on the chart for this little fake mutual fund. Okay, performance right here. Now, if you take a look, they give you a 1-month rate of return percentage. I don't even look at that. Okay, so don't look at that. 3-month rate of return percentage. I never look at that either. Okay, I don't care how it's done over 3 months. I'm not investing for 3 months. 1-year rate of return, I might look at it, but I never, ever, ever, ever base my investment philosophies off of the 1-year rate of return. I'll give you a good reason why. When Donald Trump took office 3.5 years ago, the stock market went bananas. Okay, everything for like the first 1.5, 2 years of his presidency was just an economic boom. Everything looked attractive. All mutual funds were killing it. You know, if you looked at the 1-year rate of return, that's not an accurate representation of what that mutual fund draws over a long period of time. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. We don't care about the 1-year rate of return. Okay, now let's take a look. The 3-year rate of return, I might look at that a little bit. I might not use it to make my investment decisions, but I'll take a glance and go, oh, okay, 9%. Doesn't tell the whole story or anything like that, but all right, I might glance at it, but I don't really factor that, weigh that in my buying decisions. Okay, here we go. 5-year rate of return. This is where I start, using this information to decide if this is a good mutual fund or a bad mutual fund or an average mutual fund. This 5-year rate of return, over the last 5 years, this mutual fund we're looking at has averaged 12.79% rate of return. Okay, very good. Remember, we're looking for double-digit rate of returns. 10 is good, 11 is better, 12 is pretty good. And anything over that is very good. And so this one's 12.79% over 5 years. I like that. That's a good sign. That's a good sign. That's a good sign. Anything double digits, you're going to be okay. Okay, but 12 is our magic number or above. And so that's pretty good, 12.79%. I like it. That's a good sign. That's a good sign. Then they've got this since inception. Since inception, 7.91% rate of return. Now, usually they give a year. Since inception means when was this mutual fund born? Since inception, and they'll put a year next to it, 1992, 1998, 2002. And they don't have a year here. But if you look at this since inception, that number is a little perplexing, 7.91. Okay, this is not an exact science. If you look at the 5-year rate of return, 12.79%, some years it might make 2, some years it might make 20. What it means is over 5 years, it averages 12.79%. There's good years and there's bad years. We're not looking at just a year at a time. We're looking at over the course of 5, 10, 50 years. How does this mutual fund perform? So I'd dig a little bit deeper and I'd say, well, when was this since inception? Did this become a mutual fund in 2008 when we had the housing market collapse? Did this mutual fund take into account what we're going through right now, this bear market where everything's down, where the numbers might be, you got to take a look at what was going on. When is inception? What I want you to do is take a minute and on line 4, question 4, I want you to write down all 6 of the rate of returns. But make a little note on your sheet or a mental note. We don't really care about the 1 month. We don't really care about the 3 month. We don't care about the 1-year rate of return. And we really probably don't care about the 3-year rate of return. We make our buying decisions, our investment decisions on mutual funds that have a long-term track record of winning, 5 years or more. And the more data we can get, 10, 15, 20-year rate of return averages, that is what's going to help make you make smarter buying decisions with your investments in mutual funds. Take a minute and write those down. Number 5, cost of investing. Okay, we're going to take a look at number 5, and what I want you to do is you're going to write down this expense ratio right here. Expense ratio is how much, I mean, Sleeman's got to make money. Andrew Sleeman's got to make money, and so does his team. Okay, so the expense ratio here is 2.24%. That means that Andrew Sleeman and his team take about 2.24% is what it costs to invest in this mutual fund. That's how Andrew Sleeman makes money, is he's running this, he's taking a little percentage of the cost of investing right there. So what you're going to look at is write down that expense ratio of 2.24%. Go ahead and write that down. Now, to give you some real world context, that's kind of a high number, okay? Anything like 1.5% is pretty typical. It's pretty standard, pretty average. Anything a little bit higher than 1.5%, we get to like 1.75. We're starting to push it a little bit. Certainly when we get close to 2 or above, that's going to be considered a high expense ratio, meaning they're taking a little bit more of their money. You might want to look at a different, if you're torn between mutual funds and you're like, oh, do I like this one or this one? The expense ratio might be the deal breaker. And you take a look and go, well, this one's going to take 2.24% and this one's going to take 1.75%. And I like them both about the same, but maybe I go with this one that has a lower expense ratio. Okay, that is important information to look at because this is your money. This is how much of your money it's going to cost you to invest in this mutual fund, and you want to find an expense ratio that's pretty low or pretty average. You don't want to get ripped off, is what I'm saying. So this is one of the things I definitely look at is what is the expense ratio, because it's not just rate of return. You want to look at mutual funds, and if you like 2, 3, 4, this might be the deal breaker. The lower the expense ratio. Okay, so next to number 5, go ahead and write 2.24%. Also, right next to number 5, write no load right here. Write no load. Some mutual funds have load fees. Now this one has no load. No load means a load fee means every time you buy shares of the mutual fund, let's say you invest $100 a month, okay? Every time you buy $100 worth of mutual fund a month, if there's a load fee, that's a commission fee for every time you buy into the mutual fund. And I'll give you an example. One of the load fees I've seen out there, and I'll show you this, I think maybe sometime this week, you might see a 5% load fee. What that means is if you, let's say this month, let's say you've got $1,000 to invest this month. You buy $1,000 of a mutual fund that has a 5% load fee. That means that you only are actually investing $950. They're going to put $50 in their pocket as commission for that sale of the mutual fund. That's a load fee. So 5% is a very high load fee. So if you can find a mutual fund that says no load, great. There's no sales commission fee on it. If you can find a mutual fund that has a low load fee, 1%, 2% or something like that, cool. Some mutual funds do have a high load fee. Maybe that might be a deal breaker if you're looking at 2 mutual funds and one is no load or very low, or one has a 5% load fee. That might be the deal breaker and go, I like them both about the same. This one says no load. I'm going to do this one. Okay. Now $50 here or there might not seem like a lot, but over the course of 40 years, when they're taking $50 every time you're putting $1,000 in, that adds up. Okay. So these are things you want to look at, is the expense ratio to invest in these mutual funds. Expense ratio, and does it have a load fee? Number 6, turnover ratio. Okay. Let's scroll down, or let's flip our pages to right here, portfolio turnover. 26%. Go ahead and write that down. Portfolio turnover, 26%. What that means is how often is Andrew Sleeman turning over the investments in this mutual fund? Okay. Now, listen, tune in. This is why this is an important thing you want to look at. If you're buying your mutual funds through a Roth IRA, a 401k, a 403b, or a traditional IRA, you don't really have to worry too much about the turnover rate. And we're going to learn what Roths, IRAs, 401ks, and 403bs are either tomorrow or the next day. Okay, just remember I'm kind of telling you that. But if you're buying mutual funds outside of one of those types of accounts, like you just have a regular investment account, not with any cool tax privileges like those accounts that I just mentioned, like your car replacement fund. Remember that Free Cars for Life video that we watched, and I showed you that mathematical system, how to get free cars for life? If you're buying investments without the shelter of one of those things that I talked about, and you're just buying it through a regular investment account, you want to look at this portfolio turnover rate, okay? Because if your money is not being bought, your mutual funds are not being bought in a Roth IRA, 401k, or 403b, and you're just buying them like your free cars for life thing outside of one of those accounts, you pay taxes on your investments, okay? They're called capital gains tax. And how do you pay capital gains tax? You pay capital gains on the turnover rate of your mutual fund. The higher the turnover rate, the more taxes you have to pay every year on your investments. So you want to look, if you're buying your mutual funds outside of an account that I mentioned, and you're just buying it like my car replacement mutual fund is in just a regular investment account, because next time we buy a car, that's where the money's going to be. You want a portfolio turnover percent of 5% or less. It's going to help keep your taxes down on your investments. So if you're buying a mutual fund outside of a retirement account and you're just buying it through a regular investment account, taxes are fair game. You want to look at the turnover rate, and you're looking for 5% or less is going to keep your tax bill down as low as it possibly can. Remember that. Write it down in your books. Now, if we're investing for retirement, we don't really care too much about the turnover rate. It's just something to look at a little bit. It just means like, hey, Sleemans goes, dude, Amazon has not been performing. It's been killing me the last year. It's been killing this mutual fund. I'm gonna sell it, and I'm gonna take all that money and I'm gonna buy Home Depot. And I've just turned over some of the stock in this mutual fund. Okay, it's when they take stuff out and sell it out of the portfolio, and then they buy other stuff with it. They're turning over the investments. Okay, that's why you want to look at that only if you're buying it outside of just a regular investment account. And if you are just buying the mutual fund for like your car replacement or your down payment for your first house, look for a mutual fund that has a turnover rate of 5% or less. Okay, that's how we use that information. The next thing is the risk return ratio. All right, so usually I'm going to find number 7. They usually measure this in what's known as either an alpha or a beta. Most websites list it as a number called a beta. Now, what I want you to do is next to number 7 on the worksheet, write 1.08. Okay, it has a beta right here of 1.08 beta. Let me explain what the heck that means. Okay, this number tells you how risky this mutual fund is. Some mutual funds, like the small cap, the aggressive growth we talked about, are risky. Some of the mutual funds, the large cap category, are not risky. They're very stable. They're not volatile. Let me show you what this 1.08 beta means. If you have a mutual fund that has a beta of exactly 1.0, 1.0 is what the stock market does, okay? So the stock market is 1.0. If it goes up, that's just the market. If you find a mutual fund like the one we're looking at and it has an exact beta of 1.0, that means the market goes up, and this mutual fund should go up just like the market. Market goes down, a mutual fund with a beta of 1.0 should go down just like the market does. This is called lockstep. It goes up and down just like the market. Now, the higher up beta you get away from 1.0, the more risky the mutual fund is. So this one has a beta of 1.08. That means that if the stock market goes up, this mutual fund will probably go up a little bit faster and higher than the market. If the stock market goes down, this mutual fund will probably go down a little bit quicker, a little bit lower than what the stock market as a whole does, okay? It's a measure of risk. So if you have a beta of 1.5, ooh, okay, stock market goes up, this mutual fund will go up. Stock market goes down, uh-oh, yikes, it's risky. You could lose a lot. It moves faster than the market. Now, if you have a beta of less than 1.0, let's say you have a beta of 0.85, what that means is it's not very risky. Stock market goes up, this mutual fund will go up a little bit. Stock market goes down, this mutual fund won't go down this far, it'll go down a little bit, okay? It's very stable. So the risk return ratio is measured in beta. It's just usually a measure of risk. It tells you how risky is this mutual fund. 1.0, lockstep, does what the market does. 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, market goes up. This one's risky. It'll go up a lot probably. Market goes down, yikes. This one can go down a lot. That would be like the aggressive growth. Less than 1.0, it's very stable. Doesn't move very fast with the market. And finally, number 8, the minimum investment. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go right down here. Here's the minimum investment. Bottom of your worksheet, next to number 8, $1,000. Why is this important? This minimum investment, mutual funds have minimum investments. What that means is the first time, and only the first time does this apply. The first time you buy a mutual fund, that's how much money you have to buy, at least. Can't buy less. They won't let you in the club. Okay, once you're in the club, you're in the club. So if I'm looking at this minimum investment of $1,000, what that means is if I want to buy this mutual fund, I have to buy the first time at least $1,000. Otherwise, I can't buy it. They won't let me. Once I'm in the pool, man. I'm in the club. Okay, once I'm in, I don't have to buy anything. Or I can buy $100, or I can buy $200 a month, or I can buy $50 a month. Or I can buy $500 a month, or I can take 6 months off and not buy anything. I'm in. Once you're in, you're in. But that first time, you have to take a look at that minimum investment and make sure that you at least have that much money to buy. Otherwise, you won't be able to buy that mutual fund. They won't let you. It's important because sometimes when kids do the stuff we're going to do over the next couple of days, they'll find an amazing mutual fund. And I've seen some out there, some really good mutual funds that have a minimum investment of $25,000, $50,000. And what that means is the first time you buy shares of that mutual fund, you have to have 25 G's. I would hate for you to look at a mutual fund prospectus for 20, 25, 30 minutes and then fall in love with it and then go to try to buy it and then have your heart broken because you didn't look at the minimum investment and go, whoa, go. I don't have 25 G's to buy into this mutual fund. You look at that right away usually. If you start liking the mutual fund, you're looking at the prospectus. And one of the early things I do is, well, what's the minimum investment? Can I afford to buy in? Because if I don't want to buy $50,000 worth of shares right away, I'm not buying into that mutual fund, I guess. Okay, so you want to look at the minimum investment. And then once you're in, that is irrelevant. Okay, once you buy your $1,000 worth, then at that point you're in, you could buy whatever you want. You buy $100, you can buy no dollars. But take a look at that. That's an important thing to look at. Okay, so here's where we're at. You should have filled out this worksheet with me with all those things that I told you to do. What I want you guys to do is, can we go back to me, just me? What I want you guys to do is I want you to fill in that worksheet. You should have been doing it. And we're going to turn that in Skyward, okay? That'll be due tomorrow, April 15th by 9 a.m. Now, here's the game plan. Tomorrow, I'm going to give you, we're going to go look at, now that we've looked at a prospectus and we know some of the things to kind of look at on mutual funds, tomorrow, we're going to look at actual mutual funds, not fake ones. Ones that if you had money to invest, maybe these are some things you can maybe start getting the ball rolling, the wheels turning on. Oh, I like that. Now I know how to kind of look at mutual funds. We're going to look at real ones tomorrow. I'll show you my mutual funds, the ones I invest in. You can write them down, show your parents, whatever. Those things, we're going to look at actual mutual funds tomorrow, and I'll show you the things to look at with actual mutual funds. So tomorrow we'll jump in more mutual funds, but for today, finish the reading the prospectus. The link will be in the Skyward Learning Center to turn it in. It is due tomorrow, April 15th by 9 a.m. All right, you guys have a wonderful day. I will see you tomorrow. Peace.